Women get treated no differently than animals?
Feminism. Women get treated no differently than animals. There you go. You want your feminist message? 11 out of 10 game.
Where's dubstep at? We need dubstep here for this, like, part of the segment of the video.
I can't remember the last time that I've been genuinely disgusted with a video game, and that is not an exaggeration. This is not one of those cases where I just tell you, oh, another modern game sucks. But yes, this game does suck, but that's besides the point. That's just a dime a dozen in this era. No, Silent Hill F genuinely disgusted me. This game is some of the most overt anti-natalism, anti-marriage propaganda that I've seen in years. I think it's pretty clear.
You're gonna need to be here for this one, dubstep. I know a little Japanese, and I know damn well the translation does not match what she said. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually doesn't, because I know a little bit too as well. The feminism stuff went so extreme to even moderate messages get lumped in with the extreme and people outrage. This is why people should never go extreme.
That the F in the title stands for feminism. And let's forget the fact that this clearly is not a good Silent Hill game. It's not a good game, period. The combat is like bad Dark Souls. And for some reason, there's a devil trigger from Devil May Cry in this as well. It is some of the most clunky jank combat, and not in the way that, oh, classic survival horror games had bad combat, so it's okay for this to have bad combat too.
Well, it's a schoolgirl who literally has zero combat experiences. You're going to be clunky. You're not gonna, like, you know, you're not like this, for example, right? Look at this girl. Look, this is like attention to detail right here.
Survival horror games had bad combat, so it's okay for this to have bad.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I mean, she's still young. Yeah, like, she's young, you know? Like, and she's holding this big ass freaking hammer, you know?
Bad combat too. First of all, that's a lie. There's nothing wrong with classic survival horror gameplay, no matter how much revisionist history shill YouTubers tell you.
And even then, on top of that, isn't it at the same time, like, what is it, Leon Kennedy or so? In his first game, right? Isn't he also like a little bit clunky or so because he's like inexperienced and everything, but then like later on he gets better and better and better?
Nothing wrong with the classic Resident Evil or Silent Hill games. You can play them right now and have a good time. This combat system was genuinely infuriating.
It's just literally attention to detail. Take care, Hazu. Be safe. It's called character development. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand this. I don't understand this logic in general.
Be thinking to yourself, okay, so it's more left-wing propaganda and the combat's bad. Is it at least scary? No, it's not scary either. Half the game is brightly lit, as in the actual town segments with all the fog.
Well, that's just how just Japanese that's how Japanese mythology is. They don't do cheap jump scares like the rest of the world, like the Western side. So there's a difference between like the Japanese side and the Western side when it comes to scary things. Japanese side do more horror, creepy stuff, right? To give you like a little bit like a uncomfortableness. While the Western side of horror stuff does jump scare, like cheap jump scares and like, ooh, boogie, ah, you know, loud noises, right? To kind of like get people scared, you know, that's just how it is. Man is already wilding out. Game is fun. Combat is simple but fun. Story is interesting, and it's based in Japan way back in the day and talks about the problems of that era. Japanese horror is more focused on dread. Yeah. It's like, it's more the creepy aspect in general. Like the whole like the what was I gonna say? It's like they like kind of like trickle you with like horror creepy aspects, or like aura, or I can't find the word for it though.
Not the least bit scary, man. And even in the dream world segments, whatever you want to call the marriage allegory parts of this game, those aren't scary either, because that's where you power up to your demon form and just beat the shit out of enemies past the halfway point in the game. Even if you take away the clear propaganda angle of this game, I don't think the story is good. In fact, it's ridiculous. I'm just going to spoil the whole game right here in the intro, so you better click off the vid now if you don't want to hear it. But basically, this entire game is just a hallucination, a drug trip. A depressed chick in her 20s is reminiscing about her teenage years. She pops some pills and then goes on a murder spree at her wedding. Somehow, the average Japanese woman, oh, she's a little taller than average, kills a bunch of grown-ass men and women with no guns. I guess she just beats them to death. She's that badass. This game is an absolute joke, dude.
Yeah, if someone who has mental issues, yeah. This is more mental horror. It has its moments of scares, but that depends on you if you get spooked. I haven't got spooked, but I enjoy the mental horror. So psychological horror then. I'm not muting this part. I can't be spoiled. Yeah, so it's just basically like so it's just basically in general like psychological horror. That's it. Psychological horror. I said psychological horror. There you go.
Cannot believe there's a prominent YouTuber, and I'm not going to say who it is, but you already know. Let's just say it involves increasing your skill upward in some way. Is saying this game is like a masterpiece and the future of Silent Hill. No, this is a horrific joke of a video game. Imagine comparing marriage to chopping off your arm and slicing your face off. Oh, and your husband, he can just mind control you with his voice, by the way. I don't care if Japan in the 60s, women had no rights. This game was released under the current political climate. They knew that this is left-wing propaganda. And the main...
They're calling this left-wing propaganda?
main writer for this is the guy who made Higurashi When They Cry, which is a pretty infamous series, and I know a lot of people like that, but just trust me, this is complete embarrassing slop. I don't care if he worked as a social worker once upon a time and witnessed a lot of abusive fathers who beat their wives and their children. This story is encouraging Japanese people not to get married or to have kids when their country's birth rate is already in the...
What? Wait, hold up a second. Pull back. What?
Their wives and their children. This story is encouraging Japanese people not to get married or to have kids when their country's birth rate...
I don't know. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch in my personal opinion. I've been saying for a while that these go woke, go broke people sometimes take things too far. I feel like he's going a little bit too far on this, to be honest. I think if she is mentally unhinged, then it's fine to make her think that way. It is not encouraging. Like, it's a common thing in Japan, though. Like, the whole, like, you know, like, mental, like, unhinged illness or so. Like, there's just a mental illness in general over there in Japan. It's a thing, you know? It's like a thing. And then you set that period in the olden times, you know? Things can get a little bit dark, you know? Especially in older times where different customs were different back then. Just different overall, you know? Japan is dying out. That is true. Government is trying a lot of silly things, but no, and the problem can't be solved with immigration. Well, the problem is like they're bringing in the wrong immigration. I'm just saying they should probably bring in the right kind of people for this.
Is already in the toilet and has begun...
Libido man. Libido man.
Importing dangerous immigrants just like all the first world countries in the West. And why don't we take a moment and ask Western women how happy they are with their financial independence and sleeping around with hundreds of men in their 20s as they find themselves. Oh wait, they're the most miserable they have been in recent history. Even disregarding the propaganda aspect, the story is just very poorly written and makes Hinako, the main character, look like a selfish bitch who doesn't want to grow up, was a terrible friend when she was in high school, and is just generally unlikable the more that you find out about her. I mean, even reading her journal, what she thinks of her own parents, just puts a bad taste in my mouth and removes a huge ton of the
My father, when I first learned the term of patriarchal husband, I don't know what that is, to be honest. That is meant that a man who does nothing but boss his wife around. He was the first person to come to mind. Dad barely talks. He ignores me when I tell him good morning, but if I say nothing, he gets angry instead. And once he's angry, he just explodes. He loses all control over his emotions in the blink of an eye. He yells at mom, throws things around, and even hits us. That just sounds like an abusive dad for this story. What are we like? What are we talking about here? Huh?
Parents. Just puts a bad taste.
My mother. If I had to choose one word to describe her, it would be pitiful. She's the one who bears the brunt of my father's violent mood and malicious abuse. When I was younger, she used to protect me from him, so I didn't hate her back then, but maybe I do hate her now. Even as my father screams in her face, throws bowls at her, and sends her out for alcohol late at night, she remains ever loyal to him. I just will not accept her way of life. This is like normal trope shit, you know? Like this is like very generic trope. I don't know, is this just me, chat, or am I being too, like, you know, too on the nose? Or I feel like I've heard this specific trope so many times. I don't know. Yeah, if this is the kind of family she lived in, then I can see why she will look at marriage as a sacrifice. I don't see a problem with any of these. Yeah, I don't see their problem with this either.
My mouth and removes a huge ton of the psychological horror element of this game by just spelling out a lot of the already obvious symbolism to the player. This is a complete joke. I don't care how quote-unquote seriously the story is told. This is basically just about a woman who doesn't want to grow up and accept responsibility because she had abusive parents.
Huh? I'm like, but that's like also a thing as well in Japan.
Compare that to James Sunderland murdering his wife. Do you think that's on the same level of guilt of being drawn into Silent Hill? Actually, the term Silent Hill is never used in this game at any point. This is clearly originally not a Silent Hill game. Some people suspect it was a Fatal Frame game originally, where instead of it having this weird Dark Souls jank combat, it involved you taking photographs and then doing weird counterattacks on enemies. That's a possibility. It's also possible this was just a completely original IP that the Silent Hill name was slapped onto, because there's no way this shit would sell otherwise. And judging by the Steam player counts, this game probably didn't sell that well anyway. So once again, I'm kind of...
Oh, wait.
And judging by the Steam player counts, this game probably
didn't sell that well. You can't just get that by fast, bro. Well, it's up to 1 million copies sold, which might actually be significant depending on the budget. Well, there you go. It sold over 1 million copies worldwide. That means this game is good. Plus, also has a really positive rating on top of that too. Hinako's just a rebel teenager. Yeah, this is like the teenage years. The teenage years is just it's like the rebellious stage. And also on top of that, the setting is in Japan. Japan is a completely different environment compared to where this person has completely grew up or been exposed to of certain materials.
Anyway, so once again, I'm kind of put into the situation where I'm reviewing a game that ultimately most people don't actually care about, but because it's pushing for left-wing propaganda in video games, I feel like I have to say something, especially since I was forcing myself through the absolutely abysmal combat. So all of that torture has to mean something, and that something is going to be this review, of course. So without further ado, here's Silent Hill F. Okay, as usual, I'm going to talk about the gameplay first because this is a video game. I know occasionally we get tourists here who are like, why would he talk about gameplay first instead of explaining what the game is and what the story synopsis is? I don't know, it's a video game and you're supposed to play those. It's an interactive medium. It's kind of the whole appeal. And I genuinely believe in this case, the gameplay is bad enough that it detracts from the entire experience. A game I played recently that no one cared about, Bloober Tame's latest game, Chronos, The New Dawn. That game was basically just a shitty Dead Space, right? Regardless, if you're one of the 5 people who tried that game, I could
Was it actually a really bad game?
see you enjoying it in spite of it being so inferior to other action horror games. In Silent Hill F's case, this is
Honestly, Chronos was good. Hold on, let me see. It's like, okay, we gotta do research on this. We have to. What was it called, chat? What was the name of the game? Chrono what? What was it? Oh, Chronos. I see. Chronos, The New Dawn, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's got a good positive rating on it, so I heard it was good, but I don't think its Dead Space level is good. Yeah, it still did pretty well, to be honest. So there might be some parts here and there that might have issues and everything like that, but you know. Is this available like on a lot of consoles as well? It kind of really depends on the opening of the time window when this game was dropped as well. Was there any other games coming out on the same time that this game was coming out on that week or month anyways? I should say month because games are now expensive, so that's probably, you know, depending on the pricing on this thing, it was probably competing with like other bigger title games.
This is one of the worst combat systems I have ever experienced in any video game. I'm not exaggerating, I swear to you, this is one of the worst combat systems of all time, and I'm gonna try my best to explain why it was so painful. But first, before I say anything, I need to tell you, I played this game on hard. And this time, I actually have a good reason, because I promised myself I wasn't going to play a game on hard unless it's notoriously easy. The reason I picked hard for this game is because there's actually only 2 difficulty settings at the start. There's story, yes, they call it story, and hard. Now, I don't know about you, but every single modern video game I've ever played, story meant game journalist difficulty. That's what it means. So I have this dilemma where I have to choose between baby easy and...
No, story just means you want to focus on the story a lot more. Is man done spoiling? Still on mute. Oh, that's been over for a while now. You missed a lot of information. It was like literally only like only a minute. Just 1 minute. All he did was just literally said what was the ending and that was it.
and hard is often unbalanced and basically untested. And there's several parts of this game that give me the impression they did not test hard difficulty very thoroughly. Now again, before any tourists decide to use this information against me, just saying, oh, well, you played on hard, of course it's hard, that means that invalidates all of your complaints. Most of my complaints would be exactly the same on normal difficulty. Because I'd say about 90% of my frustration in this game had nothing to do with me dying, and everything to do with how fundamentally broken this combat system is on a basic level. Now, the first time I tried to record this segment, it ended up being about 20 minutes long. Yes, the majority of this video was just talking about the combat mechanics, and it's just because I could...
Man is camping about the story difficulty. Story gives you the Silent Hill normal experience. Well, that's what I'm saying, you know? Like, if we go back, right? Watch. So if we go back, right, read the options that it has right there. So it says, so you get more resources than traditional Silent Hill difficulty for story-focused players.
These settings at the start.
And then familiar with action horror games on hard difficulty. First of all, Hanako is just a teenage girl. What do you expect for combat veteran? Yeah, that's what I said, you know. It's like you're comparing like a character who is a child, right? Who's basically a kid who has like zero combat experience to someone who's who knows a little bit more, who's older and everything, you know? I'm like, it's like night and day differences compared to each other.
Decide to use this information against me, just saying, oh, well, you played on hard. Of course it's hard. That means that invalidates all of your complaints. Most of my complaints would be exactly the same on normal difficulty, because I'd say about 90% of my frustration in this game had nothing to do with me dying, and everything to do with how fundamentally broken this combat system is on a basic level. Now, the first time I tried to record this segment, it ended up being about 20 minutes long. Yes, the majority of this video was just talking about the combat mechanics, and it's just because I could probably complain about it forever. But I know you're not really here to hear about that. You probably want to hear about the wokes.
Nah, he got skill issues. Combat system is fine. The game even tells you to run if you get outnumbered. Man shouldn't play the game hard mode first.
Stuff. So I'll try to condense it.
So if the game warns you of being outnumbered, that you should run away, then what is there to complain about? If the game literally tells you, take care, Aqua, be safe.
As much as humanly possible, but I have a lot to say. So basically, imagine Demon Souls or Dark Souls 1 combat combined with a generic cinematic Sony slop game with that over-the-shoulder combat and sliding forward to hit enemies, that kind of thing. There's no guns in this game, unlike pretty much every other Silent Hill. You're just a high school girl beating the shit out of horrific monsters with steel pipes. The basic combat mechanics are something you've heard 1,000 times before. You've got a light attack combo, a heavy attack combo, a dodge with invincibility frames, which has an insane amount of ending lag, and enemy hits can actually track you if you dodge too early as well. And on top of all that, dodging takes about a third of your stamina bar, on top of regular attacks also taking stamina. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when you use up your whole stamina bar, it takes several seconds to recover it. You're punished to an insane degree if you ever completely deplete your stamina. You might as well be fucking dead, because you can't run away, you can't attack, and you can't—
Well, you are a little girl in a horror genre fighting for your death. And you're like dodging and weeping and whatnot. You're gonna be tired. Do you think you have the energy to run away from killer monsters at the end of the day? I don't know, I'm just using logic here in my personal opinion.
can't dodge, so you're just standing there staring at the enemy, hoping they're not going to kill you. Also, there's a perfect dodge in this game, which actually restores your stamina if you pull it off, but the timing is kind of tight. But enemies do not stop their attack combos once you perfect dodge, so oftentimes you'll dodge, try to get in a heavy attack, and then you'll just get smacked in the face anyway.
Well, why are you consistently doing heavy attacks if you said there's a light attack in the actual combo set? Shouldn't you dodge and do light attacks right after? I'm just saying. The logical part, because like it goes slow-mo, right? So look.
Times you'll dodge.
So it goes slow-mo, right? You turn around and you hit it with light attacks. So I assume, you know, if this is a Souls-like, I can play as literally God Killer if I run off stamina. I'm getting fucked, dude.
Try to get.
See, right there, you would attack it with a light attack. And then I assume you'll stagger it a little bit, then you hit a heavy attack. Unless, like, they have the AI to the point that you can only do a few light attacks, and then it won't get stunned, and then it'll start attacking you, and then you're supposed to dodge afterwards.
in a heavy attack, and then you'll just get smacked in the face anyway. You also have a faith meter, which is almost like a second stamina bar that is depleted when you're in focus mode, which is when you hold L2. What focus mode does is gives you access to a focus attack, which is a charge attack that can stun an enemy. Every enemy in this game has super armor, including against heavy attacks to a degree. There's like, I guess, a stagger meter. Like the basic mannequin doll enemy types you can stun with the heavy attack, but some of the other enemies you can't. Oh, and
What are the other enemies? For example, can you give me an example which ones they are? Because if you're not going to give me an example to which ones they're not, this part is pretty much irrelevant to me. Because if you're saying, I can't stagger that big guy, that big fat guy over there. Well, no fucking duh, it's a big fat guy. What do you expect? What do you expect a tiny 16, 15-year-old fucking schoolgirl do, huh? You think she's gonna stagger a giant fucking Oompa Loompa? Let's be logical here. Show me an example real quick.
every time you hit an enemy, there's an insane amount of hit stop. Like the whole game stops for like half a second to make it seem really like actiony and over the top. This teenage girl is supremely powerful.
But you just said she was not that powerful. Ah? Excuse me? Man, I think this is Resident Evil with the rockets can KO those Buffy monsters.
I have no idea what the hell they were thinking with this. It's almost antithetical to having horror in your horror game. But more importantly, focus mode does something that basically completely breaks the combat system. It gives you access to a counter. Certain enemy attacks can be counter. Basically, every enemy type has at least one that can be. And you can either counter it manually by pressing R2 whenever you see a flash, though the window's pretty tight. Or more likely, you're going to hold L2 and wait for the enemy to go into the animation. Of course, if you hold L2 too long, it'll drain a bunch of your faith meter, and your faith meter is incredibly important for making this combat go smoothly. But assuming...
So this meter is supposed to help you make the combat be better. But then you're saying you hate the combat because of its like jankiness. But this meter is supposed to help you of the character being quote unquote janky. Hey Ka, how you been? The guy in the video, by the way, I'm sorry, but this my guy, you suck.
You do pick the correct attack to counter, it freezes time for like 2 straight seconds, which is a really long time to react. And then you press heavy attack and you get this insanely strong counter, which also lets you get a follow-up combo afterward. Just one counter is enough to kill any of the most basic enemy type in the game. So it's obviously what you're going to do against every single doll, scarecrow, whatever the fuck, which you fight like 1,000 of these over the course of the game. There's only 5 enemy types, not including the 3 main bosses. So you're going to do the same thing over and over and over again. You know, kind of just like the Silent Hill 2 remake, except it's actually worse in this game because there's less combat options. If you flail with R1 and R2, you're gonna get your ass beat in this game, because one of the main enemy types is like this lanky, gangly man who just attacks like a fucking berserk Elden Ring enemy, doing random ass shit. Most of his attacks can't be countered. And there's a lot of hit stun in this game as well, so he can actually combo your ass and deplete like half your health bar on hard difficulty off of one attack. Oh, and of course, I can't forget, past the halfway point in the game, during just the dream segments, as I told you in the intro, as an allegory for marriage, Hinako voluntarily slices one of her own arms off and stitches this huge demonic fox arm onto her body, which gives her devil trigger from the Devil May Cry games. You build up a meter by absorbing enemy souls, and then you become invincible for like 30 seconds and just start beating the shit out of enemies with your giant arm.
Even in Silent Hill 2, you play as adult. The combat is jank. I believe the same for the rest of the series, but it's fine because of psychological horror. This is a Silent Hill, not Resident Evil, which you play as a FBI or a secret agent. Though I do agree, they shouldn't call this as Silent Hill game, but it's Konami. They don't care about relevancy anymore. Just be glad that they put out good games. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, you know. I'm just like, I'm talking about like, cause like Japan is more on the psychological and creepy and like kind of like just gives you creepy vibes in general. Like kind of like makes you feel very uncomfortable, you know, compared to
This
like
is the
compared to like Western side of horror games, you know.
most anti-horror thing I have ever seen in my life, dude. It's kind of hilarious in a way and almost fun.
It's all about the dread.
Still not quite fun because of like the jank factor, but at least it added a little bit of variety that the gameplay desperately needed. Too bad that you couldn't use it during the town segments of the game. Anyway, to get back to the point, it doesn't take a genius to see where I'm going with this. If light and heavy attacks make no sense to just pull out randomly, and dodging is only questionably useful, that leaves one option. You just spam counters over and over and over again for the entire game, because it is by far the best way of dealing with enemies, and while yes, it costs a valuable resource, it is something that can be restored with consumable items. So you may be asking, how could this combat system possibly be incredibly infuriating if all you have to do is walk up to an enemy and hold L2 and then press R2 when the time is right? Well, the answer to that is simple. As I already said, there's a lot of attacks that can't be countered, and the later you get in the game, the less likely enemies are going to use that attack, because there's like pseudo palette swaps in this game.
Well, it's called keeping yourself on your toes. You think this kind of game or so is going to be built the same way throughout the entire through the entire way? You think they're going to do the same animations over and over and over again? Like, yeah, I can understand it, you know, the boringness and everything, which makes sense. You know, if it's repetitive consistently, yeah, it does get boring, right? But like, you think that level 1 enemy is going to do the same thing at, like, you know, at the very beginning of the game, that's going to do the same thing at the end of the game?
In the sense that I think the AI actually gets smarter, because there's many times in the later half of the game where I'll hold L2 and the enemies will just stand there and not attack. Now,
yeah, it's called punishing you. They know exactly what you're doing. Like, what are we talking about here? There's been games like that have that specific type of thing too. It's called a fake out. They're gonna fake you out to do something that you think that they're gonna do it, but instead they fake you out and catch you off guard. What are we talking about here? This has been a thing for quite some time.
of course, you can always use a focus attack so you don't drain your entire bar. But focus attacks don't stun as long as a counter. They don't do as much damage as a counter either. So it's more of a consolation prize than anything. You end up using a bunch of meter of the most valuable resource. And then if you're fighting multiple enemies, which happens a lot in this game, then
I can name so many games who have that, but I guess the guy didn't think it. I guess so. I don't know. Even I know this. Like, I've had, like, there's enemies who was like a level 1 or so that was like pretty basic and easy, but then later on the line or so, that same enemy would pop up again, but would do something completely different, you know? Or would do fake outs, you know? Or bosses would do fake outs. Or they think, like, you know, you're gonna press a button if they're using like AI technology in this, right? If they're using like AI tech and you're like holding the button, they understand like the moment you press on the controller, you're pressing the button for longer periods of time. I assume later down the line, they're going to be like, okay, so this player is abusing this system. Let's punish them because they keep, you know, they keep holding on to it for a very long time, and we're giving them a super insane long window.
can very likely get counterattacked and lose a bunch of health. Silent Hill F is 100% an action game, even though you can run past anywhere from—
An action game? It's a psychological horror game, my friend. That's an actual type of genre.
a third to half of the enemies. There's many points in this game where you are forced to kill every enemy to proceed. And even if you aren't, it's very unlikely you're going to run past some of these enemies. Those gangly male enemies I mentioned before can actually run faster than you and jab you in the back as you try to escape. I had to backtrack at one point during the final dungeon in your house, which required me to run through a narrow hallway with two of these motherfuckers nipping at my ankles, and I don't think I've gotten that pissed running away in a video game ever in my life. I haven't even mentioned all of the times in this game that have borderline forced damage. I'm not going to say that these are completely unreactable, but it definitely feels like trial and error gameplay, where they'll hide enemies around corners, and then they instantly do a grab animation on you that you probably have less than a fifth of a second to press circle to dodge. Or they'll have the mannequin guys crawl on the ceiling, and then they make a very quiet sound cue, which I couldn't even hear with the volume turned up and my headphones on while I was streaming. And then they jump on top of you and slice half your health bar off. Absolutely infuriating. I haven't even...
As someone who's played Souls-like games, right, from time to time, if there's an enemy that's coming out of the sky that caught you off guard the first time, do you not think that you should probably, I don't know, look up? Just in case, if you're in the same environment, if it did it the first time, if you're in the house mansion level and a doll comes out of the ceiling or whatnot, jumps on you, shouldn't your first thought in logic to look up at the ceiling to see that there isn't another stupid doll up there ready to kill you? I'm just saying, not everyone is such an elite gamer like you, Sunaka. I'm like, I've played Souls-like games that have like surprise jump scares, you know? But once I know if there's a surprise jump scare in the level, well, I would keep an eye out on it, to be honest. I'd be on guard on those types of things. I don't know, this one feels like a bit of a nitpick in my personal opinion. That's just my opinion, but I'm just saying. Also, let's not forget he played the game first at hard mode since he didn't know the game.
Talked about the most annoying enemy type in the game yet, the one that represents motherhood. This disgusting abomination covered with giant titties that births enemies out of its lower lips. I'm not even sure I can show this thing on YouTube without the video getting age restricted. But it doesn't take a genius to figure out why this enemy is so obnoxious. Basically, it pops out these little fetus egg things, and if you don't kill them, it spawns an enemy, right? And as I told you, every 2v1 situation in this game is going to make you sweat. So you go over to the egg, you start hitting it, and then the fat bitch spits acid on your head, which stuns you just long enough so that the egg has time to hatch.
Okay, so if she lays an egg, right, and she spit at you the first time, which you didn't know she did, but she does it again, shouldn't you already know that it's going to spit at you again when she lays another egg, because that's part of the game mechanic for this character? And I'm just saying, you know, it's like crazy thought. Maybe not hit the egg before, you know, once she lays it down, because you know for a fact she's gonna spit at you.
Once it starts the hatching animation, you can't stop it anymore. And you fight this bitch like 10 times over the course of the game. She's an absolute damage sponge. She rarely ever uses her counterable attack, and it takes a hell of a lot of strong attacks to stun her. And even if you master the strategy,
because it's a big freaking boss, what do you expect a tiny 16-year-old to do? You expect a 16-year-old to pull out a rocket launcher like that one meme or so that you saw on the internet? You guys remember that one meme or so? Do you guys remember that one weird Japanese girl who had like a rocket launcher in her schoolgirl outfit? What are you thinking, huh?
Just killing the eggs in time while dodging so that it's always a 1v1 fight. In the dream sequence, there's an encounter with her that is an unavoidable 2v1 because they hide one of the dolls on the ceiling, so it'll jump on your head, slice off half your health bar, and then immediately you're thrown into the fight and can't do anything about it. Holy fuck. I was getting so tilted at this one point in the
I
game.
really don't get the outrage. She had a mother who never fought for her, so she sees mother as this monster and spawns children to be abused by their dads. It's all in her head and makes sense with her backstory. Well, yeah, that's not the issue. It's like the problem is like he's complaining about the mechanic in this specific character itself, or this monster, I should say.
It was unreal. Make it stop, bro. All right, I invincibility framed my way out of the grab. That's good. Oh, and then I got grab. Oh, you can't make this up. Yeah, let's just, hey, the other one should now use grab, and then the other one can use grab, and then the other one can use grab, and then the other one can use grab. I think that's a great idea. And then call them DSP if they fuck it up. The AI, the enemy AI in this game is infuriating. If I stare at them, they won't attack for 10 minutes. If I'm not locked onto them, shank, 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 shank.
Because it's a doll. It's supposed to be like that one doll. If you stare at them, they don't do anything. But if you don't stare at them, of course they're gonna start coming after you. That's just how their gameplay is. Man did not understand the theme of the story.
Shank, shank in the back, shank. All of this talk about the combat, and
I know this because this is a weeping angel mechanic. Do you not know what the weeping angel is? That's like the oldest classic game mechanic when it comes to horror.
Haven't even mentioned the survival horror mechanics yet. Yes, there is resource management in this game, and it is some of the most annoying I have ever seen. Not only do you have an inventory limit that is ever so slowly expanded over the course of the game, but you have a quick select limit too.
Excuse me?
Most annoying I have ever seen. Not only do you have an inventory limit that is ever so slowly expanded over the course of the game.
Okay, what's wrong with that?
You have a quick select limit too. Despite there only being 8 quick slots, there's about 12 consumable items. And the consumable items only stack up to 3, or in the case of the first aid kit, only 1. So many times you're gonna have to pause the game and rearrange your quick select items in the middle of combat. Takes you out of the horror experience.
Inventory problems? What the hell? He never played horror games before? Yep. I'm like, you've always have limited resources when it comes to horror games, especially playing on the harder difficulty. That's number one. And then also on top of that, they always give you limited space to carry stuff with you. It's like the most staple of staple in horror games. Yeah, I'm trying to understand what is going on here. Like I said, I don't hate this person or anything, but like, you know, I don't understand people saying this ain't Silent Hill game. One, it's a spin-off. It's a spin-off game. 2, just because it's not set in the US doesn't make it less of a Silent Hill game. 3, it still has good mental horror. Okay, inventory and quick slot I agree with. Sorry, chat. That fucking irritates me. I have 1 and 0 buttons on my keyboard, and I want to have access to specific items on keybinds. I'm convinced that this guy is baiting in reactions. There's no way that this is an actual reaction to the game. This is a review. This is a review, and he called Silent F is a disgusting woke propaganda. You want to know something? We haven't even gone to the woke part. Where's the woke part in this entire thing? Oh, it's over here at the very end. The story and wokeness is right here.
Experience even more than the idea of a high school girl beating the fuck out of horrific monsters with a pipe. And there's items that exist solely to sell them so that you get faith points, or whatever the currency is called, I already forgot, so that you can upgrade your character and use the gacha system. Yes, this game actually has an in-game gacha system for omamoris, which are like charms that give you buff effects.
Because those charms are like those like there's specific charms that it's like that in it's in Japanese. You get a random fucking charm that literally, what are we talking about here? That's also part of Japan.
Gotcha system for omamoris.
Omamoris. Okay, let me see. Omamori charms. Are these actually real? I assume these are real, right? So omamoris are traditional Japanese amulets sold in shrines and temples to provide protection or good luck or any specific area of life, such as health, success, love, or safe travel. The word omamori comes from the Japanese verb of mamoru, means to protect. Each charm contains a prayer slip and is never to be open, as this would release its protective power. I'm just saying. That's how charms work in real life. I'm fine with the gacha. One playthrough will be not the same as someone else's. Yeah, exactly. You get different charms, you know?
Which are like charms that give you buff effects. So my inventory ended up being too full to pick up any more items about a dozen times over the course of the game, causing more unnecessary trips back to the bonfire just so I could sell stuff so I could keep playing the game. The worst part is it didn't have to be this way. Half of the items do almost exactly the same thing. Out of those 12 consumables, like 6 of them heal your health, with functionally no difference except the appearance of the item itself, and in a couple cases, how long it takes to use it. The food items can be consumed instantly, whereas the bandage takes a long time to heal you.
Because you're wrapping your arm with a bandage?
Which can sometimes get you killed. Another added,
but that's like a thing. That's normal. What are we talking about? That's literally that's been a thing for quite some time. Food, you eat it instantly, and you basically heal your health. With a bandage, you have to like wrap yourself around your arm or so to heal up. You know? I don't understand this point here. Does he have a problem with it, or?
Survival horror element is that weapons have durability in this game. Now, normally I despise weapon durability, but believe it or not, it was rarely a problem in this game. Even on hard, I was never at risk at any point except near the very end of having all my weapons break. There's actually many points.
You can increase your inventory. You have to find it, and once again, it's survival horror. Lack of resources is the name of the game. RE has spoiled people. Yeah, it's like, but he says about that, like, you have a limited inventory and you have an increase of inventory in later down the line, you know? But it's like number one, it's a psychological horror, it's a survival horror, so of course you're gonna have limited items and plus limited inventory space. She doesn't have a backpack at the end of the day. Shit, they're lucky enough they even give you upgrades for this. Shit, they could have literally given you nothing to upgrade your inventory because she doesn't have a backpack or anything. She's just literally walking around in her school uniform. Where's her pockets, you know? Where is she keeping all this stuff?
It's where I would discover a weapon and not be able to pick it up because you can only hold 3 at a time. Oh, and if you're wondering if there's any meaningful difference between the weapon types, really it's just attack speed, and in the case of the heavy weapons, you can actually block with them while holding L2, which is actually kind of a neat feature, except it depletes the weapon's durability, so I honestly didn't block very many attacks over the course of the game. I don't really have anything else to say about weapon durability. It's just kind of a tacked on element that doesn't really add anything, but honestly doesn't take away anything either. One of the consumable items in this game, the Higurashi, is completely broken and
Higashi.
almost makes this combat fun.
Let me see. What is it?
Higurashi.
Fully restores stamina and prevents stamina consumption for a set period of time. Can also be used as an offering.
Is completely broken and almost makes this combat fun. It gives you infinite stamina for about 30 seconds, which is more than enough to clear a combat encounter, or in the case of the Dark Souls-esque boss fights, makes them significantly easier. A lot of the general jankness is considerably less frustrating when you can dodge an attack whenever you want without having to worry about depleting your whole bar and then getting beaten to death in an instant. The thing is, these things are rare enough that you're only going to want to use them against the 3 main bosses. And to briefly touch on those, they are just straight up Dark Souls bosses in the sense that they can kill you in like 2 or 3 hits. They do these long attack combos with huge sweeping moves. And this is the one time in the game where you're going to be dodging a lot, because it is the main way to avoid the attacks. I know I'm beating this point like a dead horse, but does this look like a horror game to you, or does this look like an action RPG or a hack and...
Let me see, is this the boss that I'm thinking this is? No, I don't think so. Looks like a Dark Souls boss to me. Seems pretty crazy to me, in my personal opinion, you know? There's even one that's even crazier in Fatal Frame, but I don't remember that specific boss in general. Where like you fight, where you're fighting in like some kind of like cave or something like that. And like, you basically like it's some weird boss that like flies around and everything, you know? Like there are some crazy like bosses, you know? And then also here. Would this be it right here, by any chance?
Captain, I've confirmed.
The desert? Doing nothing but recon's gotten me out of shape.
But thanks to your recon, we know Miranda's plan.
Couldn't quite believe it when I heard she turned herself into Mia, though.
Taking 5 shots to the head's nothing to sneeze at either. Spooky.
This is in Resident Evil Village. What Dubstep literally just said.
Hey, Alpha, look at this.
Yeah, this is what it gives me. It gives me Call of Duty vibes.
The SAA. They've gone too far.
It looks pretty rough down there. How are you planning on reaching the objective?
First, we're gonna have to take that thing out.
I've got your back, boss. Let's get to work.
Everyone watch for hostile bioweapons.
Roger.
Interesting, isn't it? I'm just saying.
Slash game. Fighting the bosses is the only time that the combat system felt semi-competent, and even then, it's not like I really enjoyed them because I'm so sick of Souls-likes as it is. Now, I could probably continue to rant about this combat for another 10 minutes, but in the interest of time, I'll just try to summarize why it's such an irritating jank fest. Though I think a lot of this B-roll probably speaks for itself. It's a combination of extreme repetition, a terrible camera angle that gets stuck in walls when the fat fucks get too close to you. Of course, you have the very flawed attack and dodge system, meaning that light and heavy attacks are often very unreliable. Dodging has a lot of lag, so if you fuck up the timing, you can easily get punished heavily and have to waste precious healing items. Focus attacks being usable, but draining a lot of your faith meter unless you have an Omamori to reduce the amount of faith you're using.
I have never had this man's issues. Really?
And of course, reliable, the counter, which is actually way too effective to the point of being the only thing you'll probably want to use. So the meta of this game ends up being one of the most boring things you could possibly do, which is walking up slowly to an enemy and then holding L2 right before it attacks, and then pressing R2 and then beating it to death. Which naturally, the genius devs at NeoBards thought the only way to make the game more challenging is having enemies past the halfway point either stand around and do nothing, letting you drain your faith as you hold L2, or they use an uncounterable attack that is often too fast to react to with the dodge. The terrible cinematic camera often makes it so you can't see enemies attacking you from behind or the sides, and there's no indicator of when they're about to hit you. And of course, if you ever run out of stamina, which is likely going to happen if you're panic dodging, you just have to stand around like a sitting duck and hope the enemies don't grab you or beat the shit out of you. Or the game just straight up forcing you to kill all of the enemies to proceed, which it does many times in the last 2 hours of the game. And slowly, all of your accumulated resources are drained, and it feels like there's nothing you can do about it. It is not fun. It is not meaningfully challenging in any way. It is padding, plain and simple.
This is some journalist gameplay. But he's playing on the hard difficulty, though. What do you mean, Dubstep? He's not even playing on game journalist difficulty, you know? He's playing on the hard difficulty. He's being a gamer, chat. Last I heard of a game with a mentally ill protagonist who's going on a killing spree, it was a visual novel game, Saya no Ota.
And it has no place in this game. This is not a survival horror game. This is a really bad action game with a horror.
What? What do you mean? What are you talking about? What?
Coat of paint. Alright, finally moving on. In the interest of time, I'm going to condense a lot of my thoughts on all the other aspects of this game pretty briefly, just so that we can get to the story analysis. As for level design, there's not much to talk about here. The game is mostly linear, even more linear than previous games in the series, I would argue. There's a bit of an illusion of exploration, some optional little side areas with supplies, and during the Shinto temple dream sequences, the map has the illusion of being labyrinthine in nature, but it's still a linear path. You just have to figure out where you're supposed to go. Also, it bears repeating that this game is not the least bit scary. I know that is subjective, and I'm the type of guy who doesn't get scared easily with horror games, so I would probably say that about 80 to 90% of all games in this genre ever released. However, there are a few basic objective things that I think detract from the horror no matter who you are. The obvious thing I already went over is that there's way too many combat encounters and there's not enough enemy variety, so once you understand an enemy, they're not scary anymore. Especially
I assume the dolls I assume the monsters are supposed to be meant for something at the end of the day. Like I assume like I said, like he said, this is all basically, it's all in her mental health. So all of these are basically is what her life is, what she's going through, and she thinks that these like specific people are like monsters in general. So Like the everyday, like I assume the Shinto thing is part of like her life that she had to deal with, and it's like, you know, the dolls probably represent something. There are multiple endings in this, right? I'm not too sure. Well, who knows? He'll probably be explaining it. So, hey, King.
Especially since this is an action game instead of a survival horror game, so instead of managing your resources, you're slowly getting better at the game over time, and the more confident you are, the less scary the game is. The other obvious thing is that the game is too fucking
With Silent Hill, the monsters reflect you. Yeah, that's what I thought, you know? Even I, look, I haven't played the Silent Hill games, and even I can tell what this game is about. Just literally not even me playing it. I haven't played any of the other Silent Hill games. I don't know anything or much about the other Silent Hill games, but I have seen videos of that one Silent Hill game of the main protagonist about him killing his wife, and how the monsters are supposed to reflect you and the sins, and like, this is supposed to mean this is supposed to mean that, and that is supposed to mean that, you know?
bright, especially during the town segments. I don't care how dense the fog is, this just doesn't look scary in any conceivable way. Other than that, I think the game...
It's not supposed to be scary, it's supposed to be creepy and atmospheric and dread.
is just kind of lazy about the whole horror aspect in general. There's not enough true psychological horror in this game, which is ironic given the nature of the twist of this game. You would think if nothing you see is real, the game would go way more over the top messing with Hinako's head. But I think the only time the game is kind of experimental with that is in the house dungeon, and even then it's pretty tame. Of course, aside...
Well, the house dungeon is her own house. It's supposed to be a reflection that her real house is a trapped dungeon that's mentally scarring her, making her feel trapped there forever. I don't know. I'm just taking a guess, to be honest. I'm just taking a guess. I haven't played the game. I don't know anything about it, but I do know about Japanese horror stuff. I'm just saying.
From fighting a bunch of enemies, going from point A to point B, there's also quite a few puzzles. I'd say for the most part, the puzzles are pretty simple. There were only a couple that truly stumped me. One that got to a lot of...
Your guess is more on point than him. Is it? It's funny because I've never played a Silent Hill game, but I did see a video.
People, which is the box puzzle. I'm not going to go into it, but it was a problem of simultaneously the clue being too vague, and you also had to have somewhat of an understanding of Japanese culture to even know what the solution is. I'm not really a weeb, and the way the puzzle is designed doesn't even make it clear how many images you're supposed to select for each solution, because it changes with each of the 3 levels, which makes what should be a really simple and easy puzzle a matter of trial and error. Though if I have to praise one aspect of the game, there was one legitimately good puzzle that also, coincidentally, was arguably the scariest part of the entire game. When you're trapped in the dense fog in the rice fields and you have to select the correct scarecrow, normally getting really close to...
Well, he says he's not... We'll say the puzzles are a bit easy, but I hate puzzles, so it's fine for me. You want to know something? He says he's not a weeb, right? Right? He's not a weeb or anything like that, but you can see, you can literally see in the, like right there, chat. You guys see this right here? I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me do a zoom in real quick. If you guys see real closely, chat, who is that? Who is that behind him right there? Who is that little mascot in the back, you know? It feels like I've seen that guy before. I'm just saying, you know. I'm just saying, not trying to call out someone here, saying that they're not a weeb or anything, but yet has a plushie in the background that he has a weeb plushie. So I'm just saying. If anyone says they are not a weeb, they are a weeb. Yeah.
Horror enemies would make them less scary, but knowing that they could jump and attack you at any moment if you picked the wrong one was actually really tense. And in later parts of this segment, a couple of the scarecrows actually move towards you when you turn away from them, which I know is a concept that's been done in a lot of other horror media, but it still adds to the overall tension of you wanting to figure out the puzzle as soon as possible so you don't get stabbed in the back.
Okay. So he knows that the dolls are basically like weeping angels, but then earlier he was complaining that the dolls, if you're not looking at the dolls, they're like always stabbing you all the time. Okay, all right, you know what, I'm okay.
Also, since this is an Unreal Engine 5 game, I will briefly comment on performance. I'll definitely say it's above average for a UE5 game, but there's definitely still stuttering, specifically in the town segments. I've heard claims the game runs perfectly. That is a fucking lie. I have the footage to prove it, but it definitely wasn't bad enough to distract from the experience. And as for the visual aesthetic design of everything, it just kind of looks like a traditional Japanese town. It's set in the 60s, and of course it's got the trademark Silent Hill fog. There's this red rot everywhere that's supposed to represent death that follows you. And the Dream World segments are like in traditional Japanese temples, and I really don't have much to say about that. I guess it's a vaguely interesting setting contrasting with the small town American vibes of the other Silent Hill games, but if you play a lot of Japanese games, I'm sure you've seen all this shit before. The enemy symbol.
Okay. More reasons why I never take anyone that goes straight to shouting woke seriously. I can't wait to hear the woke part of this part of the segment. It's not in this part, but it's the next part. I'm so curious where the wokeness is at. I'm just so curious, dude. I'll have to counter this guy's point about performance. Taters is playing this game on a little potato, and there's zero stuttering. I see.
In this game is pretty obvious. The doll or mannequin type enemies are supposed to represent other high school students. The gangly, lanky dudes are obviously supposed to represent men. The giant fat dude with a butcher blade is just straight up revealed to represent your father. And the obese titty monsters represent motherhood. The boss is also...
Okay, so you know what these monsters are and what they really represent when it comes to like the whole vibe and the aspect of the game itself. This game has been hella smooth for me on Ultra. If you take a glance at his channel, you already know what his game is. What is it? What are we talking about? What? Excuse me? What's it?
I have a simple question for you.
Gaming is still dead. Perry slop. Is this another of those people like the one from your monster? It feels like it. That's what it really feels like it to me. He's basically calling everything woke. He is one of those channels. Oh, I see. Final Fantasy 16 will put you to sleep. The worst gaming showcase of all time. Resident Evil 4 is a true masterpiece. Atomic Heart is bizarrely average. God of War is not a masterpiece. Shin Megami 5 is better than Pokemon. Yeah. Apparently God of War is not a masterpiece, apparently. Was Resident Evil 5 actually bad? Yes, Shiva was that bad. True classic RPGs. Bro's Prototype actually good. Gaming is dying. Interesting. Resident Evil 3 a massive disappointment. I see. I thought this man has a single positive VOD. What's his most popular one? Insomniac is dead. Far Cry is dead. Bethesda is dead. Stop lying to yourself. Elden Ring is not a masterpiece? Damn, that is a holy whoa. Damn, dude, that's a crazy bold statement to hear that, to be honest. That's a huge rage big kick W, holy statement. Game dead, game this, not a masterpiece. This man is Farby gay. I think we have seen enough from him. Hey, at least he's getting his bread. True, people are clicking on it. 1.4 million for the Spider-Man thing, and then he's doing this. Interesting. He's right. Concord is the real masterpiece. It dies so we can walk. Bet Matt will hate on Sonic Racing. Well, he has Shadow in his I don't know. He has Shadow on here. Yeah, he has Shadow up in here in his thingy thing, so I don't think he'll hate Sonic, so. Okay, we're gonna get to the woke part story. I am so curious, what is this about?
A pretty obvious symbolism. The first one being the friend that Hinako abandoned. The second being her romantic rival, who was in love with Shu, which is basically Hinako's childhood friend that she friend-zoned. She admits at multiple points she had no intention of dating him, yet she's still upset and jealous at Rinko for wanting to date him, and so the two hate each other. Am I supposed to feel sympathetic for Hinako? She's just as much of a fucking bitch as any of the other women in this game. As for the story, I'm not going to go too in-depth here because I pretty much covered all the major points in the intro. Basically, this game is split into two parts. You have the town parts and you have the dream sequences. The town parts are Hinako reminiscing about her teenage years, while the dream sequences are an allegory for women losing their identity when they get married. Sure.
But like, wasn't that like part of like just Japanese? Well, I don't know how it was for Japanese history.
I could go into a lot of details of the story, but honestly, the characters are not that deep. They're pretty one note, so there's not that much to talk about. Sakuko, the forgotten friend, only has like 30 seconds of screen time in the beginning. Rinko is the typical rival girl, like I said before.
Interesting. No, you're not supposed to feel sympathetic to Hinako. You are supposed to understand her conditions and see she is still not a good person, but a product of her environment. I see. I see.
Who hates Hinako's guts and wants to get with Shu, and Shu is just the boy next door childhood friend character. Of course, in the dream sequences, you have Hinako's fiance in their arranged marriage, and he is represented as a demonic fox spirit you know, a kitsune for all you weebs out there. Of course, you have Hinako's parents, with the father being a stereotypical alcoholic, abusive dad, and the mother being the complete pushover who's basically a servant to her husband. Now, of course, in a vacuum, I don't think it's feminist or left-wing propaganda to represent an abusive father in a video game. There's many of those in real life. But I think it is pretty telling how Hinako describes both of her parents in her journal in-game. And Hinako despising her mother just for wanting to keep the peace and not getting divorced seems very petty and childish from a...
No, because remember, right? This is not the American side ideology. This is a Japanese side ideology. So you have to think on the Japanese side of like the ideology in general.
Woman that's actually in her 20s. Even if it is framed as her being a teenager for most of the game, it's revealed she's actually an adult in the end. And of course, the final character, one of the villains of the story, is Hinako's older sister, Junko. And Junko is framed as a
1960s. That's where the game is based off of.
Villain just because she left the family to go get married. That's all she actually does wrong, by the way, since the whole game is just a drug trip. Everything else is just a figment of...
Well, I assume that, you know, her older sister literally left to, you know, leave the abusive family and leaving her younger sister there to literally deal with the issues of the family itself. That's why it's literally the way how it is. It's like... Okay, hold on. I need to hear this part again.
Of course, the final character, one of the villains of the story, is Hinako's older sister, Junko. And Junko is framed as a villain just because she left the family to go get married.
Yeah, because she hates her sister. She hates her older sister because she left her there by herself to deal with the abusive dad. It shows her PV. She does not realize her mom is saving her from getting her ass whooped by her dad. Ah, I see.
That's all she actually does wrong, by the way, since the whole game is just a drug trip. Everything else is just a figment of Hinako's imagination, that she's eternally pissed at her sister for daring to get a life. If I'm being charitable, she's really mad just because no one was there to defend her anymore from the horrific parents.
So you fucking know! Wait, so you know that's the actual meaning of why she hates her older sister. Okay, alright.
But the main antagonist of this game turns out to be you, more specifically, the Hinako from the dream sequence that becomes like a fox demon. And so the final boss is Hinako just fighting the Dark Souls demon version of herself, but in the...
Because you are your own monster! That's the there's so many meanings in this game. Like, literally, there's a lot of meanings in this game in general. Mind you, there was a scandal in Japan for increasing the boys' entrance exam score because the judge said that women will get married and no longer pursued as doctors. That's WTH. This was in 2018.
Bad ending. She ends up just taking all the drugs and murdering all the people at the wedding, I guess, is what that part represents, right? She gets high as fuck and kills the concept of marriage by murdering her husband and all the people there or something. Again, I don't even know what to take away from this story other than the propaganda angle. It just seems like...
How is that a propaganda angle? Huh? Man, we sure are reaching the bottom of the barrel. How? How is that propaganda? Wait, hold on. No, Silent Hill is not based on a true story. It's a fictional narrative set in 1960. Japan has inspired the Japanese folklore and the cultural anxiety of the period. The game is set in the fictional town of the Ibisu, though its atmosphere and the cultural details are influenced by the real world Japan, unlike the original games, which were loosely based on real-life ghost towns of Cantrellea, Pennsylvania. So let's see. Silent Hill F is set in a fictional town. The game draws heavily Japanese folklore cultural aspects in 1960. The time and significant cultural change in Japan. The horror elements is tied to a specific cultural context of post-war Japan, exploring themes of tradition versus modernity and patriarchal values. And then if we click on this, a narrative analysis of Silent Hill and why it's deeper than assumed. So let's see here. I get why some people are skeptical about Silent Hill F. The combat is a hit or miss, but the story is not only consistent with a psychological or symbolic tradition, a Silent Hill also introduces a uniquely Japanese framework of folklore. I couldn't cover every aspect of the story, but I tried to include as much as possible to show you how rich is the lore and how much there is to unpack from every angle. Shimizu Hinako. Hinako's story revolves around marriage in 1960. Japan, especially a rural community, marriages was often less a union of two people and more of a transaction between families, which I already fucking knew about this. A daughter's wedding could mean her disappearance from her friends and even her own family as she was absorbed into her husband's household. Sakoku and Rinko talked about Hinako as if she were dead. To them, marriage equals betrayal. Hinako promised she would always be there, and now she has effectively vanished. But Hinako resists this role. She doesn't want to be treated as property, passed from one family to another, and stripped of agency. Her journal stress of importance is to thinking with a calm mind and a clear heart of knowing herself so she can choose who she wants to be. What terrifies her isn't only the family's oppressive expectations, but to reassure the individuality that the marriage symbolizes in her time. The imaginary of the bride to her is suffocating, not romantic. Hinako's grotesque transformation into a monstrous bride that consumes her loved ones and eventually the whole town is a metaphor of obliteration of selfhood. The ceremony demands that she cuts ties with everyone she knows, kill the old versions of herself, and dissolve into a role defined entirely by others. The violence of the ceremony underscores this. Hinako cannot marry without annihilating parts of herself, and thus around her. Seen this way, her resistance is not selfish but existential. Hinako doesn't want to disappear into the role that erases her identity. She wants to remain an individual in the world that insists on defining her only as daughter, wife, or vessel of tradition, supporting characters. And then there's all of this stuff here. There's just so much in general. Like, it's literally like, there's literally an in-depth literally of how deep the lore is of this game. So where Silent Hill 2 explored the layers of the personal guilt, Silent Hill F explores ways personal identity can be lost by family roles, by friendships, and turn into obligations by traditions that weigh on the whole community. The game is built on ambiguity. No one is entirely right or wrong. Both titles understand that the horror is not in the monsters, but a complicated way we try to live ourselves in and with our past. So yeah, even I know this. Even I knew where this was going to go with this story. The message the game trying to deliver is well delivered. This situation is still prevalently even in today's world. A woman marrying a man, meaning leaving behind everything to go to the husband's side home. Yeah, it's just be a property, you know?
Like complete nonsense to me. But the way this game's story is told feels so pretentious, like it's digging at this deeper message somewhere, but there isn't one. The first
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Time you play this game, you get locked into a bad ending. No matter what your choices are, you get the same one every time. And then on subsequent playthroughs, to get better endings, you have to never use the red pill item throughout the game, since, as I already told you, the pills are what created this drug-fueled massacre in the first place. But I'm not going to torture myself by playing through this whole game again. Yes, there are some changes in the cutscenes on New Game Plus, but you still have to suffer through the combat, as I said earlier in this video. So let's just get to the whole woke element of this game, even though I've...
What is the wokeness? I am so curious. What is actually the wokeness in this game?
sort of already covered the basics on that. Although I got a lot of my rage out during the intro about the overall feminist message of this game, I think it bears repeating again how ridiculous it is in this.
No, Pill symbolizing Shu trying to control Hinako, and the marriage is how the other dude trying to control Hinako.
This day and age that we're getting yet another game pushing for anti-natalism and anti-marriage messaging.
What?
When women are more unhappy now than they have been in any other point in the past 100 years. Yes, even under the horrifying nuclear family, marriage is like slavery. It's like giving up your identity.
Anti-natalism? What the fuck is that? What is that? I've never heard of that.
You have to do everything your husband says. No, it's much better to be a career woman and work until you're 40, have no fucking kids, your egg carton's empty, you got 5 cats and are constantly
That's not what the message is being said here. It's in the 1960s of Japan. What the hell is this spewing? So the wokeness is the game trying to say marrying is prison? Is existence is harassment enough of being a gaming culture? Anti-natalism is a philosophical value judgment that procreation is unethical and unjustifiable. What is the argument of humans should abstain from making children? What? That's not what's happening here. Consider coming into existence and always be a serious harm. Their views are not necessarily limited only to humans, but may encompass on the sentient creatures, arguing that coming into existence is a serious harm for sentience being in general. There's a various reasons why. That description right there fits Expedition 33, where some people don't want to have kids. Like that literally part of that sentence literally fits in Expedition 33, where people don't want to have kids to have them, to harm them, or, the existence of them harming because they're going to get, fucking Thanos snapped, BS narrative? What is he trying to imply? It does not fit.
A piss, still chasing the high of that Chad who fucked you one time when you were 20. I mean, come on, do I even need to tell you how ridiculous it is to equate marriage to chopping your arm off, slicing your face off, getting a huge ass brand on your back, and your husband literally having mind control over you? Can you imagine if somebody made a game about marriage today and it showed the horrors of the divorce court, with women taking half of the man's money, having custody of the kids, showing how these single...
It's because it means that you're becoming his property. These are, I assume all of these symbols and the signification or so is basically him branding her, as in being mine, or being my property, being my part of the family. I'm absorbing her in, She has no will of her own, I assume that's what it's basically symbolizing in this specific scene here, because they're branding her. I assume that's their brand, quotation marks. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't play the game, I think someone should make a game of divorce. I didn't understand why this game was getting so much drama in the Western world. Now I see why, thanks to people like him. Some people do actually have the same thought as him right now. I low-key believe he has been divorced and he is projecting. I have no idea what is going on here. Even I understand what's happening in this scene from like just visual standpoint of just looking at what's going on here. I'm not even like I haven't played the game. Dubstep has played the game. He knows exactly what's happening. I haven't played it. As someone who is looking at it from outside of the window in, this is basically what I'm seeing. Man even said, this is proof you are mine. You are better analyzing a story.
Mothers subtly abuse and neglect their children. They end up being these soy boy redditor cuckolds when they grow up. Obviously, everyone would call that right-wing propaganda, but this game comes out and some major reviewers are shilling the hell out of it, calling it some kind of deep artistic masterpiece
It
or
is.
some shit. I feel like anyone with a working brain and even a modicum of maturity, because I certainly consider myself
Thank you for the follow. Welcome. I'm playing through the game right now and near the end.
pretty immature, all things considered. But even I thought this is just edgelord shit, the cringe kind.
What?
Where Hinako thinks marriage is so fucking horrible, it's like brutally mutilating yourself and losing your entire identity. It frames this whole story as a melodramatic bout of hysteria from a drugged up woman, and she's actually rewarded by being able to somehow murder a bunch of people at her wedding, which is such a dog shit twist ending because of how ridiculous it is. How am I supposed
Don't underestimate a crackhead strength. Do not underestimate a crackhead strength, because you want to know why? I'm gonna show you the reason. Never underestimate, ever.
What's going on in the wonderful world of crackheads this morning? Oh, okay, you're gonna try to pick the whole fridge up. You don't want no help. You don't want somebody to get on the other side. You just gonna... Okay. Crackhead strength is... Where is you at when I need help moving? Always find you a crackhead to help you move, because they cheap and they do stuff like this. He gonna get on the... He getting on the bike? With the whole fridge on him?
Like I said.
Crackhead strength is real. He riding the bike with the fridge. You know how hard it is to pump the homie on the handlebars? But not for him. He carried the whole, and it's full of food. Crackhead strength is real.
So yeah. Like I said, don't underestimate someone who's literally under the influence of drugs. He's neither rage baiting or first world privilege that didn't see the problems in other countries. Probably. That's probably the thing itself. Here, let me go back a little bit.
melodramatic bout of hysteria from a drugged up woman, and she's actually rewarded by being able to somehow murder a bunch of people at her wedding, which is such a dog shit twist ending because of how ridiculous it is. How am I supposed to take this story seriously on any level when it is cartoon shit?
I'm gonna take a guess here. I'm gonna take this a wild guess. Are those lights that are like flashing around, like in like the way how it's flashing right there? Are those supposed to be like police sirens that literally like are showing like her walking out of the church or so, all bloodied up and everything after killing somebody? I'm just taking a guess that that's what that is, you know? What does the YouTube comment section say about him? I want to know after this video. We'll know after this video.
Silent Hill is not cartoon shit, man. This is a joke. Another conspiracy-esque element you can think about is Japan's birth rates are lower than ever, and they're also importing more immigrants than any other point in their history, much like every first world country in the West right now. So again, do not doubt for a second, this is more globo-homo propaganda. Shinzo Abe is rolling in his grave right now seeing this shit.
What?
And to add to the absurdity, this game was developed by Neobards, the shitheads who made that terrible Dead Rising Deluxe remaster last year. They are a Hong Kong-based company.
Wait. What? Wait, what?
To add to the absurdity, this game was developed by Neobards, the shitheads who made that terrible Dead Rising Deluxe remaster last year. They're a Hong Kong-based company. So this is a Chinese game telling Japanese people to not get married and to not have kids.
Well, what? Where did you pull that from? What? What? Where are we pulling? Where are we pulling this from? It's the most craziest far-fetched thing I've ever heard in my entire life, dude. There's no where did you pull this from, bro? You're Singaporean, you're selling our data to China. Bro, that is the wildest thing I've ever heard. I'm so glad I grew up with anime so I can see nuisance in writing. Can I hear that one more time? Can I hear that one more time?
Last year. They're a Hong Kong-based company. So this is a Chinese game telling Japanese people to not get married and to not have kids. Are you gonna tell me right now that isn't propaganda?
No, it's not. Where the fuck are you pulling this logic out of? Your fucking ass or something? Where is the proof of this?
You can call me a schizo if you'd like.
You are a schizo! You are! Bro, what? What are we talking about, bro? What are we? Oh, I didn't think it would get ridiculous, dude. There is no way, dude, it would have gotten this ridiculous. I would have been like, all right, I want to hear this guy out. And I'm just like, no shot, dude.
That is 100% on purpose. Despite my numerous significant complaints with this game, while I was editing this video, I decided to play a little bit of New Game Plus on story difficulty. Just out of pure morbid curiosity, I wanted to see how much easier the game is, and holy fuck, the enemies only do like half as much damage and take—
because it's like the story where it focuses the story a lot more. And the hard difficulty is literally the hard difficulty. Wow, they do half the damage on hard difficulty? Surprise Pikachu face? Oh, God, okay. All right, okay.
less hits to kill on top of that. I know it's just a stupid meme on a certain basket weaving forum, but I genuinely believe if you played this on story difficulty, you didn't beat the game.
That is a Souls-like mentality. What are we talking about? Brother in Christ, please, you must be joking. You have to be joking, dude. There is no way you're trolling, right? You can't be serious, dude. I refuse to believe this, dude. No. This is crazy. This is crazy. This game is set in Japan in 1960s. It contains depiction based on the customs of culture at time. This depiction is not reflective of the opinions and values of the developers of any individuals involved. Ironic because this is them framing their opinions and values as the custom of and culture of that time.
Regardless, I decided to do the UFO ending since you can do it in like the first 3 hours. And man, they even found a way to mess up a joke ending. At first, it's actually pretty cute. It's just a series of manga panels with an old traditional art style.
Okay.
And all the weird happenings in the town are obviously explained with an alien invasion. And the giant faceless wedding creature, the other half of Hinako, is actually a robot that Sakuko built to find the aliens. But then there's a really cringy joke about Shu being a perv and all the women beat the shit out of him. Yeah.
Oh, you can't be serious with me, man. Oh my god, dude. Really? Really?
It's actually a robot that Sakuko built to find the aliens. But then there's a really cringy joke about Shu being a perv and all the women beat the shit out of him. Yeah, man, this is just fucking cringe. But in any case, I thought this was worth mentioning for the video. Let's wrap this shit up. So in conclusion, should you buy this game? Hell no. This game pissed me off in many different ways.
Oh, oh my god. Oh god, dude. I don't understand, dude.
I can't even remember the last time I've gotten this enraged by a single player game. And it's not just because of the propaganda, it's not even just because of the gameplay. This is an insult to
Whoa, repeat that one more time?
the last time I've gotten this enraged by a single player game. And it's not just because of the propaganda, it's not even just because of the gameplay. This is an insult to Silent Hill. It's an
So you weren't upset about the propaganda. You weren't upset about the gameplay. You were...
It's not even just because of the gameplay. This is an insult to Silent Hill. It's an insult to the horror genre. It doesn't do anything right. It's not scary.
The Silent Hill games are where they go is the monsters are a reflection of the person, of their sins and what they went through, and all. That's the whole point of Silent Hill in general. This game is based in Japan, and all Asian media styles of horror game are always psychological, and they do dread, creepiness, unsettling, make you feel something, not just cheap jump scares like you Westerners love it so much, you know? Propaganda man is pushing his own propaganda.
It's not fun. It doesn't tell a good story. And yet,
What do you mean it doesn't tell a good story? Even I can tell what the story is, and I haven't even played the game. What are we talking about? What? But you just... Man, I'm about to lose it, bro. I am about to lose it, bro.
there are people on this platform, my fellow YouTubers, who highly recommend this game.
Because it's a good game and there is a deep meaning of a story in there.
Say it's the future of the franchise. What a fucking joke, man.
Have you even played the older Silent Hill games? Like, did you even play them? That's my question.
Man, it's incredibly obvious that NeoBards was trying to make a Silent Hill game for women. And the worst...
What?
kind of woman at that. The far leftist, communist, champagne socialist, feminist type who absolutely despises men and other women and her parents and basically everyone. And yet we're supposed to...
Because it's a girl who's... Okay, let me repeat this again. It's a girl who's literally going through struggles of life with an abusive family, literally in the 1960s, where marriage was more of a transactional thing than actual love. Okay? All right? Her sister decided to I wouldn't say run away. Well, basically, it is technically running away or so by getting married. But unfortunately, you know, the only person that was protecting her was her older sister. And that's why she hates her older sister for leaving her with the abusive family. And then the whole marriage thing itself, you know, was a transactional thing for status. Man doesn't need to play them. He just loves them because it's an OG game that people loved. Wouldn't dare to put BS narratives on those games.
Feel sorry for her. So it's a Silent Hill for Karens, basically.
What?
Wow, what a concept. I don't want to go over all the flaws with this game again for this conclusion. You're just going to have to actually watch the video this time if you're one of the people who skipped to the end. I don't even want to talk about this game ever again. Genuinely, what a horrific waste of my time. Hopefully, we all forget about this game in a week and just move on to the next slop. Like Ghost of Yotei, which no doubt my review will enrage a lot of people. Well, I'm looking forward to crapping all over Sony fans again. So that's about it. See you next time, guys.
What did I even listen to? What is happening? It's pretty funny if you consider that a game set in Japan is promoting anti-marriage message is being promoted. Also in Japan, during the demographic crisis, I bet they would make Hinako happily marry an Indian in a future DLC. What? There are pictures of the governor of Tokyo with George Soros in case people wonder why Japan is taking so many Arabs and Indians. China makes a game with Japanese set in Japan with a message of that marriage and family are bad. The irony never stops. Shut up. You guys don't... What? Wow. That's crazy to see this, to be honest. I'm positive this man was denied multiple mail order wives and just venting his frustration. These comments are more insane than him. See the demographic that eat this kind of shit up? The anti-woke extreme people have reached this point. It's so dumb, dude. Like, there's a point and a place of saying things are woke and everything. But, like, for you guys to be saying everything is fucking woke, it's like, that's just wild to see that. This is crazy to see this. That's just wild, dude. I don't believe this, dude. I really don't. This is the most craziest review I've ever heard in my entire life. No way, dude. There's no shot, dude. This is crazy. Look, man. Literally, someone has made a summary of the game itself, of the lore and everything. It's literally on Reddit 4 days ago. You can take a look at it. This video was posted 12 hours ago of the recording of this video. And this was probably the worst review I have ever heard in my entire life, to be honest, about a game franchise in general, which is Silent Hill, of course, that I've ever heard in my entire life. Because this guy literally called out Silent Hill 2 as well. Dude, this is crazy. This is such an actual crazy video. I don't even know what I have to say about this, to be honest. You know, you're doing something wrong when Reddit one-ups you. Yep. Anyways, sorry for the long video, but I can't. I honestly cannot. Anyways, I cannot believe what I just heard in my entire life. I honestly couldn't believe this. They're saying 1950s Japan is woke. In fact, I will say it's the opposite. It's more of a far left. Even with Woke Guard, which the play of the name is a community joke, that game is not completely woke. It's mainly a bad game. It's just one character with BS progressive messaging. I know this because I've played the game completely and can be fair. Yeah. I just got bored of the combat. Like, I generally got bored of the combat, especially playing it on a little higher difficulty or so. And how I broke the game too as well, and how broken it was. I'm like, I could probably break it even more, but yeah. Anyways, yes, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Saying woke about everything kind of kills the meaning immediately. don't like, just do your own research. Play the game, try it out. You know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, you like it, you know? But saying that it's woke and propaganda thing is kind of like the craziest thing I've ever heard about that, especially in this game. When it literally is Asian, it's like literally in Asian territory. These games were developed by Asian developers where their specific horror genre are more psychological, dread, has more meanings in like actual things instead of like actual cheap jump scares like they do in the Western side of things, you know? Because that's what the Westerns do. The Western side of horror they just do cheap jump scares. That's all they do. There's not really much of like, ooh, creepy, and like compared to like the, you know, Japanese and like Chinese and Korean, you know, folklore tale. But yeah, anyways, that's the end of the video. And yeah, what a crazy freaking review. The meaning of woke back in the 1960s is just, you have awoken. And peace.